Admitted liar Alex Murdaugh spent another 6 hours on the stand in his own double murder trial today. The disgraced former lawyer and accused killer used that time to test his own theory about what happened to his wife Maggie and son Paul. It relates back to a 2019 alleged drunk driving boat accident. It crashed and killed a 19-year-old on board.
I didn't believe that any of the families, the people that were involved in the boat wreck, had anything to do with hurting Maggie and Paul. Okay. But I can tell you that at that time, and as I sit here today, that I believe that boat wreck is the reason why Paul and Maggie were killed.
Right, so we've got random vigilantes because of the boat wreck.
Now, I don't know that they're random vigilantes.
What you're telling this jury is that it's a random vigilante.
That's your
the 12-year-old, the 12-year-old 5'2" people that just happened to know that Paul and Maggie were both at Moselle on June 7th, that knew that they would be at the kennels alone on June the 7th, that knew that you would not be there, but only between the times of 8:49 and 9:02, that they show up without a weapon, assuming that they're going to find weapons and ammunition there, that they commit this crime during that short time window, and then they travel the same exact route that you do around the same time to Alameda. That's what you're trying to tell this jury?
You got a lot of factors in there, Mr. Waters, all of which I do not agree with, but some of which I do.
Joining me now are criminal defense attorneys Brian Claypool and Phillip Holloway and adjunct law professor at Northwestern, Andrew Stoltmann. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I want to get all of your reaction to this question, which is, I'll start with you first, Brian. What is the most damning evidence that you've heard against Murdaugh in this trial?
Yeah, I got 3 words for it, Sean. Consciousness of guilt. Yeah. I mean, Murdaugh lied about the most material fact in the case. He told law enforcement in 2 interviews, I was at home on June 7th on the evening of the murders. I dozed off, fell asleep. And then through this videotape, this Snapchat video that Paul took, he actually is at the kennel. So he's lied about that. And then what he does is he goes into court and then he talks about all these other theories. Why is that important? Because it is devoid of human heart and human emotion. I mean, his testimony, Sean, was coming from a lawyer, not a grieving father and a grieving husband. And I think that is just going to be devastating for him. And the prosecutor, Sean, over 25 times, I was counting today, he kept using the word, you lied, this lie. When did you determine you were going to lie? The jury hears this ad nauseum. It's close to closing argument. This time frame now, you've only got a few minutes for him to leave and for somebody to come and kill them. I mean, it's devastating for his defense.
Phillip?
Well, good evening, Sean. Thanks for having me. Look, I think one of the best things that the prosecutor brought out today during cross-examination, he got the defendant to admit that there was nobody else down there at that kennel in the moments leading up to these murders other than himself and the 2 victims. He got him to concede that point. And if that's the case, if he didn't kill him, who did? And I think that's probably one of the strongest points that the prosecutor made. However, the prosecutor, I think, has overplayed some of their hand because they have not been able to establish motive despite all the testimony about all these financial crimes. And there's a lot of them, to be sure. And despite the fact that he's lied and he's admitted he's lied, they have not been able to tie any of this stuff up to a motive, a reason to kill this man's wife and his son. And the jury is listening for that. And of course, we all know prosecutors don't have to prove motive, but when they do, it needs to be something that's credible because that will take away from the credibility of the rest of their presentation.
Yeah, Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Alex Murdaugh and his legal team made a big mistake by having him testify. It violates rule number 1 of criminal defense law. Never let your client testify, because Alex Murdaugh made admissions with respect to, lying about the alibi, with respect to stealing $3.5 million from his clients and having a major opiate addiction. It's a huge problem. You tie in the alibi and the lying about it, these jurors are saying, wait a minute, if I was in this position and my wife and my son were killed, what would I do? What I wouldn't do is lie about where I was. So I think he's going to be convicted, and I think he's going to be convicted on his own words.
So is it possible? Because I was a DA for 10 years, spent a lot of time in a courtroom, and even when last time I was in was 12, 13 years ago. Even then, everyone watched FBI crime files, and they want to see DNA evidence and fingerprints. They think you're going to get in these cases what they see on TV, which we all know you don't. But can that come into play in this case, or not really, Brian?
Yeah, Sean, that's a great point, and I think that's why there is a potential for a hung jury. There's no way Murdaugh is ever going to be acquitted. But you might have one or two jurors on the stand that are going to go back and deliberate and say, hey, wait a minute, we don't have the weapons. We have a very little gunshot residue, and an expert said that gunshot residue could have come from a year ago, and there's very little blood on Murdaugh. So you combine those three lack of forensic tangible evidence, and you could potentially get one juror to hang this case. But look, at the end of the day, you can prove a fact through inference. You can prove a fact through indirect evidence. So, I think there's a larger chance he gets convicted than a hung jury.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Okay, Phillip, at the very end of the cross-examination today, the prosecutor asked this. Take a listen.
When you testified on direct yesterday and you were asked about leaving the kennels with your new story, your words were, I got out of there, correct?
I believe that's what I said, yes, sir.
And you also said during your testimony on cross-examination that you hurt the ones you love the most, didn't you?
I did say that.
Phillip?
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. He gave him an opportunity to go and explain that. He did that all through cross-examination. And by the way, I don't think it was a mistake. I think that the defendant, all things being equal, has testified very well. The prosecutor has not asked leading questions. They've asked open-ended questions. They've asked questions that they didn't know the answer to. And because they have done those things, that violates the basic rules that we all have learned, in terms of trying cases and trial advocacy. And because they've done those things, they've given him the opportunity to run away with the discussion in this courtroom. Has he admitted he's a liar? Of course he has, and he's admitted that he's a thief, but he's been able to make the case on cross-examination that he's a liar and he's a thief, but he would never kill his wife and his son. So I think the prosecutor has probably not had the Perry Mason experience that they've been apparently trying to get. The defendant is, I think, dominating this discussion in that courtroom.
Andrew, and maybe that's my last question for you, because I just started watching the testimony yesterday, and I got to tell you what, I thought Murdaugh did a pretty good job, and he had a wide leeway to tell his story to the jury and become somewhat likable, even though I know he's a no liar. What say you?
Yeah, look, he's a charming guy. He's an attorney.
Yes.
He was a prosecutor for a while, so he came off about as well as you can come off. But the problem is, from the drug addictions to stealing from your clients to doing all these nefarious, horrific things, there's a lot of people who are sitting in prison right now based exclusively off of circumstantial evidence, and I think Mr. Murdaugh is going to be the next one.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to see what happens. Thank you for joining me, and thanks for your insights. Appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.